What's up? Welcome back to the garage. We are going to look at where I'm at on this build today and kind of go over some parts that I have on already and what the next steps are in this build so you can make sure to come back and follow along. So make sure you like and subscribe. Um, Hit the update button so you can see when I post a video so you can come back and see what we're doing in here and how we're doing it. So let's go ahead and jump into this. All right, so we're going to start at the back end because that's where most of the work's going on right now. And a lot of the parts that I mentioned in the overhaul the other day on my last video will be involved in this kind of finishing up the rear end. Actually, I don't even, you can say starting and finishing the rear end because right now I just have the parts. So this is all just mocked up. This is a Lapera bare bones 2 seat I got off a lowbrow, as I mentioned before, along with most of my parts. So it's pretty dope. I love it. And this rear fender also off a lowbrow. It's a gas box rear fender. I can't remember the actual model of said rear fender. But as I mentioned the other day, I kind of screwed up while mounting this. So where I went wrong, and I'll tell you this so you don't make the same mistake. Part of it could just be me being new to the process. I kind of had it where it goes, which is down here. I had everything lined up really good. Um, and I had the rear mount welded to the frame. I lined everything up, tacked everything, but that's the only mount that I used was that, and I don't think it was enough, and I think that's why it kind of got screwed up because I just pulled that off and welded it, and as I said, when it cooled, it pulled out of place. So now what I'm going to try to do is I got mounts for the sissy bar, and I got a front mount that goes down here. So I'm going to get the sissy bar figured out and then tack up the mounts that come off of the sissy bar. Make sure this is fit up and tack the mounts up for that too. And also get the battery box figured out and put the lower mount on. So everything's going to be tacked up, and I'm going to try to do a lot of welding in place. Moving on to the brake caliper, I got the Performance Machine brake caliper, and that came with a brake stay tab that you weld to the bottom or wherever. And that's another part that I got was the anchor rod that goes from the brake stay to the caliper right here. So that will also be something I'm going to work on. Now moving to the other side of the bike. Um, this is the chain conversion or belt drive to chain conversion kit that I got from Lowbrow. So rear sprocket's on, the front sprocket's on down there for the engine. Just kind of a tip while you're doing that and while you're doing a lot of this stuff is that when you're taking stuff like that off of your bike, make sure that you're getting all the old Loctite off, and especially the engine components because they use red Loctite for that. So you'll have to get it hot in order to remove it, and make sure you clean off the bolts if you were using them and the inner threads of any components. Make sure you're cleaning all the Loctite out of that because it's going to give you trouble. Either your bolt won't seat all the way, you'll get a false torque reading, or I guess you can cross thread it if there's old Loctite left in there. Now moving on to the front of the bike, this is a King Peanut tank, and I got that from Lowbrow. Pretty sure that's a gas box. Kind of give you a little view of that. It's pretty sick. I feel like everybody does the Fresco style Sportster tank. Not everybody, but it's really common, and I wanted to do something different. So that's the one I went with. These are just generic 14-inch apes. I can't even remember what website I got them off of. That's pretty sad, but that's true. And then the clamps for that, also pretty generic. I just got some cheap parts, threw that on there just so I could get ahead with this. So the handlebars and risers are just cheap parts that I got pretty much to catch the bike up and just keep rolling with the process. Now moving on to the forks. One thing that I want to do to the forks is trim off the tab for the front fender, like the mounting tabs. So I have one of them done. It's cut, reshaped, and polished. I just use a grinder and like a flap disc to do that. I don't have a lathe, so it just kind of shows you that you can do a lot of this stuff with pretty basic tools. I'm also going to do a tools video showing what I used to build it because I don't have a professional build garage or anything. And I'm getting this stuff done with like pretty basic tools, and you can too, for real. All right, so here's a fork that's stock completely. You can see the fender mounting tabs right there. Um, it's pretty gnarly. Like it's not clean. It's pretty pitted, kind of nasty looking. I've seen worse, but so that's the stock one. And here's the one that I have done. So you can see that I got a little crazy with the Sawzall. There's a little ding right there, but it's a chopper, not that big of a deal. So that's nice and polished up. Um, got the tab cut off. I might actually try to polish it again and do more. I have an oil tank also, so I'll show you the tabs where I mounted that. So here are the tabs for that on top. Here it is. That's the tab for the bottom. Let me grab the oil tank. I got a horseshoe style tank. Got that from Lowbrow. That's a gas box. So it matches up with the frame. The hardtail is a gas box. It's for the 04 and up. So that's what I went with. They make a lot of components that match up to the frame. So that's where I'm at with the oil tank as well. So it's done. Those mounts are finalized, fitted up, and it does look good. So there's that. All right, that's where we're at with this build right now. Make sure you like and subscribe so you can come back and see me build this bike. And hopefully you can learn, because that's the point of this channel, is to teach you guys while I'm learning myself, because it's my first chopper build. And I feel like if I can do it, you can do it. So make sure you're coming back. The next video is going to be the sissy bar, and we're going to figure that out together. And then going from there, we're going to get this rear fender mounted correctly, right? We're going to get that figured out. So thanks for watching. Hopefully you guys come back for more.